I'm always impressed when an audience can be a daughter, a mom, and a grandma at the same show, getting different things out of it.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes back in our friends in Frayle, Gwyn and Sean. How are you doing?
Hey, how are you?
I'm really well. I'm well. You're well? I'm well. Good to see you. Super pumped to talk to you on the eve of your new album release. This is really exciting. We talked to you a couple of years ago during the pandemic, a year and a half ago. Another awesome album. I can't wait for people to hear this. This is just a really cool and momentous time for you guys.
For sure. We can't wait for people to hear it too. It's been on the burner for a long time, it feels like.
Yeah, we delivered it over a year ago. So, because with vinyl and, supply chain and COVID and everything, it's just been taking a while to get out. And then it was supposed to be out in July, and we had to push it back till September again, supply chain stuff. So we've been, as artists, that's pretty intense.
Frustrating. Yeah.
Understandable. And not every artist tries to do a package like you do with the book, and the imagery is very important to this band, and graphics and lyrics and all the things. I got that package from Aqualam for the last release, and I was over the moon. It was so wonderful and beautifully done, and done with a lot of care. So it tells me the label cares. You really care about how you come across, how your music comes across, your whole aesthetic. Not a lot of bands have an aesthetic for their band. So it's really cool that you do.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
That means a lot. We spent a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
Before I forget, Skin and Sorrow is the album title. On once again, the great Aqualam Records. I'm a fan of theirs from back when I lived in Brooklyn and before. And yeah, this is a really, I would say, a different experience. It's still the same band. It's still the same vibe, but I feel like this is so much more, showing like everything you guys can do. There's a lot of atmospheric stuff on here that I really love. There's a lot of nature in this album that I think, has always been part of your band, but it really is to the forefront now.
Yeah, I think mood and vibe are something we definitely focused on for this, and kind of trying to push ourselves, and how heavy can we get, how atmospheric can we get, trying to, I guess, just push it. That was kind of like the idea going into it.
Yeah. And I think the vibe kind of, we kind of succumbed to it as opposed to seeking it out because of just, COVID being just so overwhelming and so many losses for so many of us. And, that was kind of the impetus for many of the songs on this album.
The verse for All the Things I Was, there's like an Ebo part of that. And when COVID was first hitting, which is when we were writing this, going to the grocery store and not knowing if there's going to be stuff on the shelves, what is this going to do? In the very beginning, it was scary for everybody. And I had that sketch of that song playing in the car, and it really did feel like a soundtrack to exactly what was happening. And it felt, I don't know, like the right, right sound for what we were going through, because everyone was afraid. And now, thankfully, less to be afraid of it. But like Gwen said, there's been a lot of loss. So it had a big impact on the record.
How could it not? The last few years of life have been challenging, to say the least, and crazy at, best. So we're all in this together. We spoke during the height of the early days of the pandemic. And, it's been hard. I know people are fatigued and over it. We're not out of it as a human race. There's going to be more things more COVIDs coming down the pike, monkeypox, killer bees, I don't know, tornadoes. The earth is angry with us. We have pissed off Mother Earth, and it's trying to get rid of us. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that. I know you guys are very DIY, self-contained artists, and you do everything out of your home, whether it's, your visuals, your videos, a lot of stuff, your music. So I really respect that. A lot of people turned inward during this last few years in the world, but it also helped bear fruit creatively. So it's really cool that you guys kind of doubled down on what you're great at and just did it to the fullest.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
There wasn't a question there. I'm just complimenting you.
Oh, okay.
It's just going to be a lot of compliments. I love this record. And it's hard to put it into words. It's good that you could put it into songs and lyrics, but it is, like I said, it still baffles me how this all came to be. And again, life is just challenging in the first place, just to live. Once again, I love these songs. I think there's a lot of atmosphere here. I always felt, I was going to talk about videos in a second, but I always feel like this band is a very cinematic sounding band. I know that was one of the words we kicked around in our last interview. And this does sound like almost the soundtrack to a movie that should be.
Yeah, there's a lot of work we put into the videos.
Yeah. Well, usually for videos, how it kind of works is I kind of paint with a broad brush strokes, and then Sean comes in and does all the heavy lifting and figures out shots and stuff like that. I don't know, that's just kind of the way our video stuff works. Sometimes he's had, I mean, the idea for Bright Eyes, that was
The roller
him.
skating. Yeah, that was me. I saw that girl on Instagram. I'm like, we need roller skating in our video right now. You know, like the other videos have always been purposefully either totally in nature or totally in a foggy environment that you don't know where it is. Like we kind of stayed away from a bar, a car, a city, a building, like anything that looks like normal every day. We tried to stay away from that because we wanted to stay in like this natural world or foggy world. So Bright Eyes was the opposite of that, right? Like we went to the biggest city in America and you know, I flew a drone over it and got those pictures of looking at Manhattan from Brooklyn, and we got a roller skater. Hazley Skates is her Instagram, and that's in Salem. And we had a couple days off in tour. And so I, hit her up. I'm like, hey, can you wear my headphones and can you sing this song? And we'll drive
as you roller skate past the witch house.
Yeah, but past the witch house. Yeah. Which, after watching that, I didn't do this purposefully, but like looking at that, I thought, how cool is it that, the witch house was owned by one of the guys that helped kill people, help, murder all these innocent people. So to have a goth roller skater escape past his house now is such a middle finger to that whole, idea of persecution and everything. So that was pretty powerful, to me, and have her skating around, just jamming our song in Salem when 300 years ago, she probably would have been killed for doing that. You know what I mean? Or at least put on a list in jail, So to me, that was a pretty powerful, statement in that video. But it really started just from I wanted to see a girl roller skating, jamming out to one of our songs.
I know the witch house very well. I used to live in Salem and lived in the Northeast and in Boston area for about 10 years. I know Salem very well. It is a super cool town. It's a little more gentrified now than when I lived there, and it's a little more full of people than it was. It was really a small town about 10, 15 years ago. And now it's actually like, once again, one of the more prominent cities outside of Boston. So yeah, good for, perfect city for you guys. And I hope you got to spend some time there, not just making the video, but checking out the town. It's still a pretty cool place. I wouldn't go during the big tourist season right around Halloween, but early October, a lot of Halloween fun. And in general, year round, Salem's a very chill, cool place.
Yeah, it's beautiful. We just like seeing the old house.
Any chance we get, we go. You didn't you live in Peabody? Wasn't that where you lived?
I lived in Salem. Peabody is actually where the original, I think we talked about this when we were discussing 1692. Peabody is the actual old Salem, Mass, where most of the witch trials took place, and the majority of the people were killed. But people were killed in Salem. There's actually a plaque in downtown Salem, right by the commuter rail, marking a building right outside where they used to just drop stones on people and crush them.
Oh.
Wow.
Horrifying. Can you imagine? Innocent people who didn't do anything wrong, and they're just like, well, tell us the truth. Nope. Like making a sandwich with a person. Horrifying. And there were quite a few killings in what is now Salem, Massachusetts, but old Salem is Peabody. And yeah, just fun facts for that people didn't ask for. But welcome to my TED Talk about the witch trials.
Yeah, that's what we're into.
Yeah, you live there long enough, it starts to seep into you and get to you. And I'm glad, like I don't blame them for trying to, help the city out with tourism and things like that. No grudges at all. I'm just saying, like, yeah, personally, I don't want to be around a bunch of like 100,000 people for a parade. It's not my idea of a fun time.
I mean, it's inspirational for sure. That we painted our whole house black. I mean, we're based off I think more so from like House Seven Gables, or when we were in Europe the first time in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and we're taking one of those like touristy boats up and down the canals in Amsterdam, which I recommend doing that if you go there. It's cheesy, but it's awesome. And there's so many blacked out houses that we were just like, we have to paint our house black.
I just wanted a black house.
Amazing.
I think he was looking for justification. I just wanted a black house.
Yeah.
Amazing. I have done the canal boat rides, and the most famous black house in Salem is the Church of Satan. The Satanic Temple is actually right up the block, probably from where you shot that video, maybe like within 10 blocks. They're also in that neighborhood. There's also a famous graveyard across the street. That's very cool. A lot of witchy things happen there at night still. And fun in graveyards. That's what we do. And but yeah, I'm glad that all that fiber and all that, fabric got into your work. It's really great, a really great way to express things. There's really very few groups doing it, I think, like this. And like I said, I always felt you guys were very special. What you have is very unique and special to you. So yeah, I really am digging this whole energy. And just, I don't know if there are any more videos forthcoming, but it's going to be like tough for you to top that one.
We have the next one we're doing is you're gonna see Gwen and like trying to make her the creepiest and scariest we possibly can. There could be possession. There could be yeah. So
a regular Friday night.
right. So yeah, the next one we're going to shoot, which will we're hoping that it comes out right around the time the record comes out, or right, a couple days before, something like that. Is our target right now. So we're in pre-production, I guess. By
Nice. How do you stay organized on top of everything you have going on? Is there a whiteboard? Is there a spreadsheet, or you just keep a journal? How do you stay so focused and collected with all this stuff? I'm a wreck. I can't keep track of everything between my worlds.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like a whiteboard because I like it in my face. If it's not in my face, then I forget about it. He likes spreadsheets. But I think, as artists, you have to do something because, I definitely have bright, shiny object syndrome. I think Sean does as well, but yeah, I think just, keeping it top of mind. And then of course there are things that fall through the cracks, and we've had ideas that we're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then it just and then like a year later we'll remember and like, oh shit, yeah, we didn't do that.
Yeah. I think also our labels and management, that we'll talk about deadlines and we need to do this. It would be helpful if we had this, and we don't want to let anybody down. So we make sure that we hit those deadlines. It seems like that's how we work the best, right? Like you give us a deadline and we'll do it. Otherwise, get off track a little bit. Yeah. So I think deadlines help, but I definitely have spreadsheets, and she's got her whiteboard.
Nice. And I was going to say, like the last time with that book, and what I imagine will be in this next package for the album, I'm sure there's a period of time when you have to have like a deadline, like a drop dead deadline to cut stuff off, because it was so jam packed. And so again, I just like phenomenally produced. I'm gonna foam at the mouth thinking about this new one. And I'm sure at a certain point you want to just keep putting stuff in, and you have to not, right? You have to stop yourself, right? You have to find a way.
Sure.
Yeah, it's especially the same thing with reporting too. We'd go on forever.
Yeah, because there's always something that you want to tweak or perfect, and there's always things that you're like, oh crap, I wish I could have gone back and recorded that again or something. But you just have to let it go.
Right on. And then we'll talk a little bit about music, because I don't want to forget this amazing album. There's all this other stuff.
Oh, right.
There's all this other stuff, right? Drapery and perfume and pageantry that goes with this group. But like, I don't want to lose sight of how important this music is. So Gwen, also fantastic performance. And I was going to ask you if you had, what have you learned over the years as you continue to sort of perfect your style? You guys toured quite a bit on the last record here and there. You did the big run with Cradle, not too long ago. So just out of curiosity, if you've learned anything along the way that you've added to your skill set now as a singer?
Yeah, I think so. When I first started, I was scared shitless. Like there's no other way to say it. And I was more concerned with trying to hide, which is ridiculous because, you're right there. But I think, as we've moved forward and we've performed more, I think it's just natural that you become more comfortable. And, again, as you move past that, it's like, okay, so what do you want to express and what do you want to, put out there? And I think really what it's come down to is that I am just a Disney villain. And it is just about like, putting that out there. And I think it's just when I'm performing, it's very spiritual for me, and I make fun of it, but it's about, everything is energy, right? Everything in this world is energy, and it's just an exchange of energy and blessings back and forth, and just, it's amazing. So as far as vocally, I think it's just, concentrating on trying to get them to turn their amps down, and and just, getting better ears was like a huge move forward for me, so I don't have to scream. But as far as performance, it's more about a connection. Like I'm not one of those singers who looks above the heads, I am making eye contact and singing directly to you, so that's, for me, that's what's come from, me kind of being scared shitless and hiding, to now where I'm trying to make this connection directly with you in the audience.
Nice. I'd love to know, just as an interlude, who is your favorite Disney villain, if you have one?
Maleficent.
Totally appropriate for this. Yes, I totally see it. I totally see it. I like to think about Cruella de Vil a lot. I know that she loves animals too much in a bad way. But anyway, and there's probably a few others. But yeah. How about you, Sean? Disney fan at all growing up, or no?
Oh yeah, I mean, ish. But then when I had my daughter, I wanted her not to get into Disney because I felt like it was too corporate, and she really didn't, but I don't know if that was my doing. But yeah, probably Maleficent. I mean, how do you not?
Yeah, I don't think we watch Disney movies like at all, but I mean, Angelina Jolie as Maleficent was,
those movies are pretty sweet. I mean, yeah. But yeah, I think the whole idea of a character, that's something, and we got to watch that firsthand with Danny Phelps on the Cradle tour, is like the power of that, and understanding more of, it's totally different genre, but like you become a person, like when Eminem is Eminem, he can do things that only Eminem does, and it's you get out of your own head a little bit more. And I think that that whole idea with Danny Phelps and watching Cradle's crowd just eat that up, and that's what they're there for. And Gwen kind of is that without, we didn't say, hey, you're going to be a character, it's just she's being her, but that's what that audience like fed off that. It was incredible. Like we came up with these ways that we like introed her. We had all the fog kicked on and the band starts, and then she enters the stage, and I could always tell when she comes on because crowd goes crazy. They've never seen us before, but they just loved Gwen. And then the band tries to fade in the back, and we run around and be the energy, but it's really all about watching what she does. And that whole eye contact thing, I mean, I've been in a band for 20 some years and I still don't like to make eye contact because it's like I'm like, oh god, it freaks me out, and so I just drop my head and play. But that's what she does. She just stares into their souls and pulls it out of them. And I look up every once in a while playing, and just all the eyes are at her, and they're just meeting eyes. Like it's pretty unique. I think
it's powerful.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
I like people if they wouldn't people so much. You know what I'm saying? But and also maybe here's a philosophical question we don't have to answer. But what if I'm going to say it wrong, Maleficent?
That's a tough one to say.
Can't say it right. What if that's a new kind of Disney princess we haven't seen before? Just think about it. Anyway. Too little sleep. But anyway, Gwyn mentioned having to compete, right? And we talked about how like heavy and doomy the first releases were. And what I found on this record is there's a lot more drone stuff, and there's a lot more layering of guitar stuff that I think actually really complements the vocals and allows them to breathe, because it's hard. There is kind of a competition for space. That's why there are a lot of instrumental, bands that do drone and doom, because it's like, well, singing over this is just gonna, muddle things. But I really love how you guys have kind of altered your approach slightly. Sean's known for his heavy riffs, but like they're still heavy, but there's definitely room to grow and breathe now.
It's
for sure.
I think it's interesting too. Like we try to, like a lot of bands, it's like the chorus, don't bore us, get to the chorus, right? Like we spend a lot of time on our verses because that's where I can back up and just be atmospheric, and then Gwen can really shine on that. So we try to focus on our verses as much as the chorus.
But yeah, and I think too, like, it was definitely a conscious decision, when writing the melody for some of this stuff and even the lyrics, to keep a lot of space, because I was really loving what he was doing on the guitar, and I really wanted that to kind of take the spotlight. Like Treacle and Revenge, by far my favorite favorite song on this album, and it's just so it's so simple, but it's so powerful, and I just wanted to keep everything very simple, no flowery lyrics, no a lot of stuff going on with the melody, because what he was doing to me was just so impressive. I just wanted to make sure that he had room to really shine, because it was to me.
And I, again, the same thing in some of the other verses, I try to back off to let her do stuff. So we're trying to like give each other space. There's still, the choruses are usually going to be heavy and as full as you can possibly get on a record without overdoing it. But the verses we're trying to pull back. And now, you know, as we move forward as a band, you know, now we have more drop A songs, which is even lower than we normally tune. And Bright Eyes is in drop A. But I think the stuff that we're messing around with now, like the sketches we have, we're pulling back in drop A, and I'm learning how to get more clarity out of when you get heavy. So instead of just mid-range full, which is the normal stoner doom thing to do, I'm trying to back off and do almost what new metal bands and how they approach, like they're in like drop G, drop A, whatever, but it doesn't sound too thick. There's a lot of space for the vocal melody or other elements in the song to show up. And so as an engineer and producer and even writing songs, I'm trying to like be heavy but cut a hole almost in the sound, the overall sound for her. This might be totally dorky engineering talk, but
also I just noticed.
What about that?
Oh, yep, you got something right there.
Oh man,
Spilled.
I had a
It's
popsicle.
spilled.
I dig it. I was gonna say this interview is so awesome. We're getting music via wind chimes.
Yeah.
Oh right, yeah.
I was
Long
thinking, you know, along those same lines, and I'm all about the dorky engineering talk, by the way. It kind of reminds me of when Fear Factory started to tune down to G, but they also were doing these very melodic, you know, very lovely, you know, like Descent is a depressing song, but it's beautiful, right? It's just beautiful. Or what was the one from Digimortal? Dark Bodies, right?
Okay.
I'm probably shortening that title, but like it's in like drop G on an H string, right? Dino's a
Right.
G, but like that same thing, that song had clean picking, and then a very, very heavy chorus, right? That was just, you know, classic Fear Factory. So it's kind of the same kind of vibe there. And I like that you mentioned new metal is not a dirty word here at Ghost Cult. We like all those bands mostly, and the good ones. And yeah, a lot of fun. It's great that you guys, you know, again, continue to hone your approach to stuff after all this time.
And like a lot of the new metal bands, it's more rhythm than melody sometimes on the riffs, because a lot of stoner doom stuff is just blues or minor scale, you know, pentatonic, like, and that's already happened a lot. But rhythm is very organic, and you can play one note and have just a rhythm going, and it's a song, you know. And so I'm interested in that kind of thing. Like, how can you push that without going, you know, you can just do it with rhythm. And, you know, I know we're both fans of Karma to Burn. I think those guys were amazing at rhythm.
Right on. Just out of curiosity, what music do you listen to that is not what people would expect, not anything remotely related to what you do in Frayle?
I'm gonna need a minute. Well, actually, every night I meditate, and I usually listen to like some kind of ambient, relaxing kind of spa stuff that, you know, I guess it's unrelated, but at the same time, you know, you can still take notes from everything you listen to. And if there's, you know, something that, you know, strikes your fancy, then you just kind of, you know, say, okay, well, what can I do that's similar to this in, you know, one of our songs that's maybe a little heavier and more, you know, on point. What about you, Sean?
Well, my daughter she's 11, and she got into this band a couple years ago, 21 Pilots, I think that's the name of it. And the production and the songwriting of a lot of that stuff, I think, is incredible. I also think that Billie Eilish production and songwriting is incredible. And I honestly almost get more inspired by that stuff than I do heavy music, because it's like, but I look at it like objectively, like, this is how they went from verse to chorus, and this is how within a verse they did an A, B, and C within the verse, and, you know, stacked vocals and did a stutter, or, you know, I'm more into that kind of stuff, I think, than getting my head blown off by Crowbar all the time, which I fucking love to have happen to myself with Crowbar. But, or any other, I'm really into this band, Ether Coven right now. They just had a new record come out, and I'm super into that. But so I love that stuff, but I'm more inspired and I get more ideas out of the non-heavy stuff sometimes, like listening to a band like 21 Pilots, or, you know, those bands, sometimes they have millions of listeners just because it's cheesy and it's the flavor of the day. But sometimes they have millions of listeners because the songs are that good and they have reached a broad range of people. I'm always impressed when an audience can be a daughter, a mom, and a grandma at the same show, getting different things out of it. Like to me, that's when you've really communicated with people. And it's like almost when you're writing heavy music, it's almost scary or weird to think like that. But I like being challenged like that. So now that's like kind of my another, I guess, perspective I have on it is like how to reach people. You know, obviously we're going to stay true to ourselves, but like how do we become that good at being ourselves and also reaching a lot of people? That's really interesting to me, I guess, as someone who's been playing music for a long time. You know?
Nice. I actually saw 21 Pilots a few months ago randomly at a music festival that also had Metallica and Pink. So
Wow.
everything makes sense and nothing makes sense, but they were very entertaining. I'll say that for sure. They definitely put on quite a show. A good song's a good song. Doesn't really matter how you get it delivered to you. Thanks for humoring me with that question. Just as we wind things down, so you have the record release on the horizon. What else can you talk about that's you can share? Are there tour in the works or anything else? Any special events?
So like a big change that we've had recently is we have a new manager, the Oracle management, which is Dez from Cold Chamber and Devil Driver and his wife Anastasia, and working with them. That's how that Cradle tour came about, because they also manage Cradle. So working with them has been really awesome and inspiring for us. And you know, watching how to have someone believe in you like that is awesome. Who's done it twice, you know, with Cold Chamber and Devil Driver. To have someone like that believe in you, and you know, it's been a big inspiration, I think, to us, and
For sure.
motivation.
Yeah, for shows we have September 9th we play Post Fest in Indiana. September 24th we have a show here in Cleveland. It's kind of a record release show at the Grog Shop. It's also their 30th anniversary, so it's going to be kind of special. And then November 1st to the 19th we're in Europe again, so we're doing a circuit. We're going to play Damnation and Gloomar Festival as well. So that should be pretty fun.
Yeah, we always love going to Europe, and
Yeah.
Germany, Netherlands is all Amsterdam, Belgium. It's great. And then we were told that we have some stuff happening in Q1 and Q2 of next year, but we're not sure what it is yet.
It's always a surprise.
Yeah.
Don't spoil the surprise. Congratulations on all that. We've covered Damnation. Amazing. I saw the post-fest lineup. It looks insane. I probably should be trying to go to that, but I have some other plans. We'll see. But congratulations, you guys, on everything. Continue to root for you and pull for you. This record is awesome, and I hope everybody goes out and get it. We will link everything in the description, all the stuff, including your TikToking rollerblader, roller skater, and Salem Witch House and everything else. Thank you so much for another awesome interview. All the best, you guys. Thanks for hanging with Ghost Cult.
Thank you.
Thanks. Good to see you again.
Yep.